So here I got my 2007 Yamaha Rhino 660. I am redoing the exhaust because my Y pipe burned through, which I understand from the dealer is kind of common here. So I'm just at the stage where I'm putting back in the new exhaust, but I wanted to kind of walk you through a couple points. My Rhino has the full cage, which I have kind of suspended from this hook up here. I had to pull the cage. Let's see, I started with, there were some 10mm bolts on the back of the cage here. Those were mounted into the rear of the bed. I have the bed kind of flipped around right now because I have a wire harness that came through and I couldn't just pull it out, so I had to rotate it 180. So these corner mounts were mounted in here, flip the other way around. Those were the first 10mm bolts. Then I had to go ahead and I'm not sure what size Allen this bolt was. I mean, this is all aftermarket, so this may be different for you. But I had to pull the bolts here. I had to pull the bolts here. I had wiring harnesses here too, so I can't really separate it. So I was only able to lift the rear end there. So then my next task was to remove the bed now that I actually had clearance to do so. Removing the bed on the Rhino is pretty easy. Let's see. These bolts, which are a little tweaked here, but hopefully it'll go back in just fine. One side was a 17mm and the other side was a 14mm. The 17 was on the inside. I actually had to get a socket with a knuckle on that one to get to it. But it's just those two bolts there. From what I understand, if you don't have aftermarket harness or any wiring like I do, there should just be a plastic harness you can unplug. So anyway, that allowed me to gain access to the exhaust itself. I had an aftermarket exhaust on here, so I just had to start off by removing these 4 bolts here, or these 4 nuts, and there's a little metal gasket that came out of there. So I have now reinstalled or put in this new Y pipe. I put it on there first and got those nuts kind of tight, or just finger tight. Then I realized I couldn't snake in the muffler with that Y pipe in the way. So I had to remove the Y pipe again, and then I had to snake in the muffler kind of up from the back, and it's a tight little game. You just got to kind of move it and roll it as you're coming in, and twist it to get by these 2 mounts as you pass by this beam here. So this guy's got to be completely out, and then I just set it in here, worked this thing back in, which was much more tight now that I had a muffler in the way. So now I'm just going to continue on putting this back together. Anyway, I did have a hard time getting the there's a couple little gaskets that go in there, these guys, and the new ones I just put a little bit of oil on, or grease, and then I stuck it up in there. I figure it'll burn off, but maybe that's not a good idea. I think it ought to be just fine. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll catch you back up once I'm putting some more together here.